United States federal government should incrementally reduce its arms sales to Taiwan. Our first contention is China war. New arms sales create instability. It's China's top concern. That's China Internet Information Center on 4/18. The U.S. arms sales plan is a dangerous move that will aggravate the situation across the Taiwan Strait. The U.S. approved $5 million military sale to Taiwan. The situation across the Taiwan Strait is worsening, as the U.S. has been using Taiwan to contain China. Taiwan concerns China's sovereignty and is a sensitive issue in China-U.S. relations. The U.S. arms sales to Taiwan constitutes a serious violation of international law, the One China principle, and the three Sino-U.S. joint communiques, and undermine China's sovereignty security interests. This has seriously damaged China-U.S. relations and jeopardized peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. The U.S. has stirred up sensitive nerves. Some Taiwan organizations and people protested outside the American Institute in Taiwan. We would advise the U.S. side to recognize the high sensitivity and serious harm of arms sales to Taiwan. And selling high-tech weapons assures conflict, breaks Chinese red lines. That's Panda on 325. The U.S. and China appear to be heading toward a major confrontation over the sale of American fighters to Taiwan. China's position to firmly oppose arms sales to Taiwan is consistent and clear. And China will respond militarily. Official statements. That's O'Connor and 18. China will use military action to thwart any attempts to support the sovereignty of Taiwan, especially through U.S. weapon sales to the self-ruled island nation. China firmly opposes the U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. This is clear-cut and consistent. Taiwan is a part of China. One China principle serves as the political foundation for the U.S.-China ties. China's military will adopt all necessary measures to resolutely defend national sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity. And Taiwan conflict will escalate. Collapse in trust makes miscalculation more likely. That's Financial Times on 2/19. Taiwan exists in a precarious state. China threatens to attack the island if it declares independence, while the U.S. is legally obliged to help with its defense. Any moves by Washington to bolster Taiwan's capacity inflame Beijing. China's warnings have grown more shrill following provocative moves by Washington. Beijing appears to be turning more belligerent. Passions are clearly building. Restraint should be an urgent priority. And it's the most likely scenario for U.S.-China nuclear war. That's Glacier and 11. China will use force if Taiwan declares independence. Military buildup has been dedicated to increasing its ability to coerce Taiwan and reducing the U.S.'s ability to intervene. The issue poses special dangers and challenges for the U.S.-Chinese relationship, placing it in a very different category. A crisis over Taiwan could escalate to nuclear war. Each step along the way might well seem rational to the actors involved. The U.S. would find itself under pressure to protect Taiwan against any sort of attack. A U.S. attempt to preserve its ability to defend Taiwan could fuel a conventional and nuclear arms race. The U.S. should consider backing away from Taiwan. This would remove the most contentious flashpoint between the U.S. and China. And U.S.-China nuclear war causes extinction. That's Whitner and 11. A nuclear attack by China would immediately slaughter at least 10 million Americans. The Chinese death toll in a nuclear war would be far higher. Both nations would be reduced to smoldering radioactive wastelands and bring on a nuclear winter around the globe, destroying agriculture, creating worldwide famine, and generating chaos and destruction. And no checks on escalation. Communication is collapsing and election cycles make moderation impossible. That's Haas and 422. Washington, Taipei, and Beijing disagree on who's the initiator of this cycle. This is occurring at a time when there is underdeveloped muscle memory. U.S.-China relations are severely strained, and cross-strait relations are becoming more contested in more domains. We are entering a dangerous period for resolve testing behavior. There may be shrinking political space for moderation in response to perceived Chinese provocation. Only the plan solves. Ending Taiwan arms sales ends U.S.-China competition. That's Glacier and 15. China's improved military capabilities increase its willingness to start and escalate a Taiwan crisis. Much of the concern about China's strategy focuses on its ability to reduce the U.S.'s ability to come to Taiwan's aid. China's nuclear modernization may make China more willing to start a crisis, less willing to make compromises once conflict occurs, and more willing to escalate. The CCP is finding it increasingly difficult to justify its weak responses. U.S. support for Taiwan is possibly the most important policy-driven sources of China's suspicions about U.S. motives and intentions. Contention 2 is trade. trade deal is impossible without concessions on Taiwan. It's a key territorial issue. That's Cusick and 18. A meaningful, lasting deal is unlikely. China's leader will expect compromise on issues like Taiwan before the ceasefire will begin to look like full-fledged peace accord. And arms sales are a key sticking point. Makes any deal impossible. That's Raposa on 4-1. Washington knows how to pick a fight. All bets are off that China and the US sign anything. Taiwan is a sticking point. Taiwanese president's request for some of the biggest weapons made in the US. Taiwan's request is an unwelcome risk for ongoing US-China talks. Should the US approve orders, it would jeopardize relations between the US and China, just as trade talks are due to reach a conclusion. Taiwan was always the sleeping giant, threatening to rattle China-US relations. We urge the US to stop arms sales to Taiwan. Any sale before a trade deal would be a huge stumbling block for Xi. And it's reverse causal. The plan makes cooperation possible. That's Williams on 118. How well the US and China can work together into the future will depend on American posture toward Taiwan, the most important and sensitive issue in a globally vital relationship. Progress on talks to de-escalate the ongoing US-China trade war could be threatened by moves in support of Taiwan. And trade tensions are escalating. Any delay on a trade deal makes recession more likely. That's Bray on 520. Heightened trade tensions between the US and China have raised the risk of recession. Washington and Beijing seem poised to reach an agreement, but the dispute has escalated. The reversal has unnerved investors, and increased fears of economic downturn is on the horizon. And the impact will be global. Speed of retaliation overwhelms fiscal responses. That's Lee on 520. The US-China trade war could set the global economy up for recession. If no deal is agreed upon and the US imposes 25% tariffs, we see the global economy heading towards recession. And economic decline causes global wars. That's Liu in 18. A prolonged economic crisis combined with rising income inequality could escalate into a major global military conflict. The 08 crisis amongst almost bankrupted governments and caused systemic collapse. Policymakers managed to pull the global economy back using massive monetary stimulus. Our third contention is solvency. Incremental reduction solves war and relations. That's Gomez in 16. The most realistic way to reorient U.S. policy is to reach out to China to take incremental steps that slowly bring about the end of America's commitment. The advantages to U.S.-China relations could be substantial. And the plan establishes a relationship of trust. That's Owens in 9. China will soon be the world's second largest